talk about the evacuation that occurred up in Orval last February due to the Spillway incident that occurred up there. And we'll talk a little bit about that, but what I wanted to share with you was how we at Caltrans, specifically in District 3, prepare for these type of incidents. So Caltrans is broken up into 12 districts. I believe Russell and Bob have pointed that out. Get the map up here. I'll show you where we're located. Northern California up there, you see District 3. District 3 is comprised of 11 counties, 4,500 lane miles, 1,500 center lane miles. 1,300 of those are considered snow routes. So we have several major routes going through the district, including Interstate 80, Highway 50, and Interstate 5. Our winter operations begin in November and run through April, but I believe it was snowing in Tahoe just a couple weeks ago. So I think it snows up there all the time. We probably provide some of the same services and perform activities as you do. You can see some of them listed there. In 1991, then Governor Pete Wilson signed Executive Order W9-91 stating it is the responsibility of all the state of California to maintain a high degree of readiness in the event of disaster or extreme peril. The head of each department is responsible for the emergency planning and preparedness and training of his or her agency. The main objectives are safety of personnel and traveling public and the restoration of transportation system. So in Caltrans, and specifically District 3, we do have an emergency operation plan. We update that plan on a yearly basis. It's signed by our Deputy District Director and Director and forwarded on to headquarters. Chris Smith's group back there manages those for us. We also have a winter operations plan that identifies all the winter hazards specific to our district. So that's a helpful tool. But if we can just go back to the emergency operation plan and emergency operations center, in District 3, we practice and exercise our EOC plan monthly. So the last Thursday of every month, we will bring in staff. We'll turn on the computers, test our equipment, check our emergency communications equipment, and that's been beneficial to us in our district. We also, during those monthly drills, incorporate the CT SATCOM trailers. These are portable units that can provide live streaming video, data, phone capabilities. They're self-contained units, and they also get our men and women out of the weather or the elements. Currently, we have 4 of these stationed throughout the state. We feel we can respond in a timely manner when requested. This particular picture was taken on the Orval Spillway last February, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. Great tool to have in your arsenal for emergency operations. So we've all heard of the weather patterns and storms called the Pineapple Express, and now they're listing them as atmospheric rivers. Last year, District 3 experienced, state of California, but I'm mainly speaking of District 3, experienced 13 of these storms. On average, we receive about 5. So these storms come out of the South Pacific. They bring in a bucket of rain, and of course they're warm. It never fails. We'll have a nice couple days of snowstorms down to 4,000 foot elevation, up to 7,000 foot. And here comes the Pineapple Express, bringing in this rain, and all of a sudden it's raining at 7,000 feet. So you can imagine the challenge that puts on our maintenance staff and equipment staff to deal with these issues. Last February, most of last winter, we experienced all kind of conditions like we normally do, but last year was exceptional. Here's a route, Highway 70. It's not one of our main routes, but when these other larger routes start having issues, people will use this route here. Here's a washout on California-Nevada 49. You can see one of our our resident engineers out there assessing the damage to see if this road is even passable. Here's Interstate 80. We talked a little bit about that earlier. One of the largest movement of goods and commerce in Northern California, estimated to over $5 million per hour is passing over Interstate 80. Last year in District 3, we requested some 65 director orders. And a director order is work that maintenance cannot perform. It's beyond our scope and dollar amount of how much time and effort we can spend. Director orders totaled over $200 million within our district. So the Orval Dam, largest earth-filled dam in the country, and I showed you the picture of where it's located, and it's also shown up here. It is part of the state water project, providing water to over 25 million customers. It also generates electricity that provides power and is sent out to the grid. Very important asset for the state and the country. When the reservoir is full, it will hold 3.4 million acre feet of water. So I was just curious, did anyone know how much an acre foot of water is? How many gallons? 325,821. When full, the lake level is at 900 feet, right? And DWR dam operators are required to provide 750,000 acre feet of storage for flood control until May 1st. Basically, when lake level reaches 850 feet, they're releasing water. Here's a picture of the dam in its pristine condition. A few things I want to point out. Here is the Hyatt Powerhouse, their main spillway, which is some 3,000 feet, I believe approximately 3,000 feet in length. Over on this side is the auxiliary spillway that until February has never been used before, until last February. Also want to just point out this plunge pool, that's what DWR, Department of Water Resource, calls this plunge pool area here, is 90 feet in depth and some 400 and something feet wide. So when everything's normally running normal, of course the water is discharging down the river, through the spillway, and out into the Feather River. There's 3 ways that Orval Dam can release water. One is through the Hyatt Powerhouse, which we talked about. 2 is the main spillway, and 3, the auxiliary or emergency spillway. February 7th, I received this text showing this massive hole in the spillway. I don't know if you can see the gentlemen that are standing here. Huge gaping hole. Again, we're having these series of storms come through the region, and the main spillway is shut off. Here's a photo of the auxiliary spillway, and this is just looking right off of the spillway itself. It runs an east-west pattern, and it's 1,140 feet long. DWR is preparing to utilize this spillway. You can see in the backside they're grubbing the hillside and armoring up the toe of the emergency spillway with rock and concrete. Here's a picture of the spillway, main spillway, and the emergency spillway running. And by the way, we were mission tasked February 9th by Cal OES through Chris Smith's group here to provide a CT SATCOM trailer to provide live streaming video for monitoring, a agency liaison, and our structure maintenance and investigation group to help out with some of their concrete structure evaluation. Picture of our CT SATCOM right there, and I don't know if you can see it, but there's someone walking in the door. So Tim is one of our CT SATCOM operators. He's actually in charge of the District 3 unit, and he is our District 3 equipment manager. So he has other duties as required, and he always keeps this trailer into a state of readiness. It's just an overview picture of the spillway and the auxiliary spillway running. And again, if you look down at the bottom of that main spillway, you can see it's causing a debris pileup due to the erosion caused by the failure of the spillway. DWR calls this head cutting, and they had some concerns about how much it was head cutting back towards the dam and back towards their emergency spillway. Also, this is causing problems for the Hyatt power plant, because remember we talked about how they release water. One of the ways they release water is through the powerhouse. When this took place, there were some high tension towers that brought power into the Hyatt power plant, and those were being eroded away due to the uncontrolled releases of the spillway, emergency spillway. So those lines were de-energized. So now they've lost the Hyatt power plant capabilities of, one, generating power, two, releasing water. So the evacuation that Lisa wanted me to talk about. February 12th, Butte County Sheriff Corey Honey issued an evacuation order. It was actually a non-notification evacuation order. No one had no idea it was coming. 2 counties followed suit after Butte County evacuated. So when I showed you the map of District 3, we had 5 counties that were impacted by this evacuation. We talked about EOC staffing. A lot of our staff was evacuating. So again, the EOC and EOP plan helped us with those redundancies. Caltrans supported our California Highway Patrol partners with providing barricades, signage, CMS signs, helping stranded motorists with fuel, water. They just did an excellent job out there, and they're used to dealing with this type of stuff. We hardly ever receive notification. It's always be ready to go in this state of readiness. Sometime in March, they were able to shut off the spillway. They had their lake levels down to where they were comfortable, and they were able to send in their geologist and engineering staff to come up with some contingency plans on how are they going to fix this massive structure here. So that's that plunge pool picture that I showed you earlier. DWR, Department of Water Resources, estimated that there was over 1.7 million cubic yards of material in that pool. It literally dammed up the river, causing a back pressure to the Hyatt powerhouse plant, which DWR calls a tail raise. The water level from this side to this side is 13 feet. So DWR was able to go in there in less than 10 days and remove 1 million cubic yards to free up that channel, and that's ongoing as we speak. This photo was taken just a couple weeks ago. I was given a tour of the site. The goal is to have it operational, not completed, but operational by November 1st. And it looks like they're on track to complete that. The project is a 2-year project, and next year they'll go ahead and finish it up, put the remaining structural concrete in place, and there's some amazing videos from YouTube. I would suggest you go to the DWR sponsored ones, but amazing video of how they're rebuilding this. After every incident, we have what we call a hot wash or after action report, and the lessons learned. Actually, I felt this one was a win-win. Monthly EOC drills, right? They proved to be effective in this event. We knew exactly where to stage. Again, Yuba County was an impacted area. That's where our EOC is located. We moved it to an alternate location, which we practiced in the past. So it was a win-win. And again, our staffing, we have a 5-deep chart of these staffing levels, and we were able to staff our EOC. The next one is time to prepare, time to pre-position personnel and equipment, right? Well, we'd all like that luxury. Unfortunately, in Caltrans, we have to be ready to go. We're always in this state of readiness. If you have the time to pre-position personnel and equipment, good, but that doesn't seem to take place with our maintenance operations. We're either dealing with forest fires, floods, slides, hazmat, emergencies. And then the information sharing by having the cooperators meeting on a weekly basis. So when the incident first occurred back in February, my deputy assigned me to go up there, and we were having daily meetings for the first 6 weeks until we got this thing a little bit under control. I still attend the weekly meetings. Management believes its value. We're also sharing information with other agencies such as CHP, Butte County, City of Marysville, all these local partners that we're dealing with.
It seems almost a lifetime ago, but I don't remember if you guys did contraflow or not that night when you were evacuating everyone.
Yeah, we did on Highway 70, 4-lane freeway, and yes, we were. And again, our men and women just jumped right in there with CHP, blocking off those ramps and make sure traffic was going the right direction. And that's part of the after-action plan too, Lisa, is they're coming up with all these different strategies of how they can get people out of that area, because it is limited access out of there.
I was wondering, if the dam had broke right there at the emergency spillway, how much water could have come down and how bad could it have been?
So just some clarification, and this is more of a DWR question, but the dam was never in any danger. It was the spillway and the emergency spillway. The emergency spillway, they've noticed on February 12th that it was head cutting back towards emergency spillway at like 25 feet per hour. And that's what prompted the evacuation. And there was a number that they issued out, what was worst case scenario, if the emergency spillway would have had a failure. And I don't recall what that number is.
Okay. Thanks, Kirk.
The preceding video was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found at tsp2.org. That's tsp2.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.